What is up? Welcome back to another video. Now today's video we're going to break convention just a little bit. Typically when it comes to these review videos, I like to just focus on one element, whether that's the camera body, the film, or very rarely the lens, but I like to just kind of hone in on one of those elements. I'm able to simplify the process of talking about the subject matter at hand, and there's not so many different variables, but I do have a very good reason for breaking this convention, and that is receiving a roll of film that I've wanted to shoot for a very long time. It's very hard to come by for a reasonable price, and the roll that I received had only 12 exposures, which, given my probability of photography, one every roll is probably a good shot, standard roll being 36 exposures. Having a 12 exposure roll means that the odds would not be necessarily in my favor to do a good job using this film that I really wanted to shoot with. So I thought I could stretch it by using a half frame camera, and thus two birds, one stone, using a film I've wanted to shoot with and a camera I've wanted to shoot with for a while to kind of create this perfect storm of mediocre photos on an expired film stock with an old film camera that I can now present to you in a packaged manner of some kind of review. The Olympus Pen F and my experience shooting Ferrania Solaris. Now we're going to be on a bit of a Ferrania kick the next couple of videos. Really, I think this one and probably the next one or one after that, because I shot some Ferrania film recently and I feel the desire to talk about it because allegedly they are back in production, baby. We're back. As things were looking relatively bleak at the beginning of the year, I think it's only fair to end the year celebrating Ferrania and their various film stocks. And no place better to begin than the relatively infamous Solaris film. All I know is that Solaris is one of my favorite Tarkovsky films, and I just have to remind you, that is a byproduct of my film school pedigree. Yes, I know it was only community college, but it still counts. There's a residual amount of aloofness and pretension that is required when you go to film school. It just happens. It's like a uniform. You go to Catholic school, you have to wear a certain uniform. You go to film school and you have to watch old Russian films and the French New Wave. That being said, Solaris is a really captivating movie with a very ambiguous ending, a lot of really beautiful visuals, and some deep emotional undertones that really paint a very broad picture of human emotion tied in with technological advancement. So, upon seeing that one of my favorite film brands, Ferrania, had a film stock back in the day called Solaris, I was like, wow, this is just for me, it seems like. And then I saw the prices of Solaris being resold on the internet, and I thought, wow, this is for a richer version of me, a more wealthier version of me, a more financially sound version of me. And then I bought a box of shit, as I do, and in that box were many treasures to be beholden, one being the aforementioned 12 exposure roll of Solaris, which on a normal hand is fine. It's just like a little sample, but the results, I have to say, are pretty remarkable. The film aged very well. I believe it was a 200 speed film that I shot at 160. I'm not entirely sure. This was kind of a span of time when a lot of different companies were producing film in Europe, and it all was kind of AGFA film or AGFA theme filmed, heavily AGFA inspired film. And if that's the case with Solaris, I'm not even mad, to be honest, because I really like AGFA color film. Regardless of what the origins of this film are, it really did stand up quite nicely to the test of time. But not only was this just good film of its own accord, it also served as the perfect vessel in which to test a camera I've had for a little bit over a year at this stage, and that is the Olympus Pen FT here. It's a very unique camera system, very famous for its kind of over-designed interior in a very Olympus kind of way, answers a question that nobody's really asked in a very complicated but elegant manner. And I love it for that. This has really been an Olympus Renaissance kind of year for me, between the Olympus M1, a camera that I've had a hard time setting down, the OM4, which really blew my expectations out of the water, and the Olympus Stylus I recently did a video on. I've just been really finding myself enjoying their products more than I thought I ever would. And this is no exception. Obviously, this is an SLR. Despite the look of it, it is a half frame camera, which means that 12 exposure roll ended up getting stretched all the way up to, I believe, 27. I'm patting myself on the back mentally for my ability to load the film in such a way to get as much out of it as possible. And shooting with this 38mm 1.8 lens, which I think equates to something like, probably more in like the 60-ish range. I'm not entirely sure how half frame mechanics work, but it is a quality lens all the same. The packaging of this camera is exquisite. I've always really enjoyed the design of these because it is so well fitted in the hand. It's very easy to use both horizontally and vertically, and the offset of the lens and the other mechanism leaves just enough room without getting any fingers in the frame. This camera is a single stroke mechanism. The earlier Pen F has a kind of double stroke system. I kind of like the longer throw of this personally. It also has the internal light meter that the Pen F does not have, which means there's a nice little ASA toggle on the shutter speed dial. There's just a lot of unique design choices to this camera that lend itself to kind of this Art Deco styling. The downside to this camera is the Pen F has that really beautiful gothic looking F on the front. This is missing that, but the trade-off being a light meter I feel like is a worthy trade. The viewfinder is fairly bright, it's easy to grab focus. It does have a feature that I really don't like in a lot of these cameras. I've seen it before in the Pentax Super programs where there's the display screen, and instead of having any kind of like backlight built into it, it's just kind of requiring external light to travel in, whether that be from the sunshine or from like artificial lighting, and that serves as the backlight. Think about like the early Game Boy systems with no backlight. You'd have to have like that weird attachment on to flashlight on the screen so you could play your Game Boy at night. Not really a great design personally. Actually, no. I think maybe real time, I'm thinking about this, I think that's where we went wrong. I think if we all had stuff, like all of our technology didn't have a backlight, we could only use it during the daytime, I think we'd be healthier people. You know, you couldn't use your phone at night because you'd have to like hold it under a light. You would have like much lower resolution screens, which would mean less time on your phone because it'd be less appealing, but that would probably mean fewer people would watch these videos, which would probably decrease my ad revenue. But given my inability to properly color grade certain things, that could all, you know, that could benefit me to some degree. I could get a real job. Screw it. I like this thing a lot. No issues, whatever. No complaints. Even this gridded, textured leatherette that's featured on a lot of these Olympus Pen systems, I don't mind too much. Normally, I feel like they kind of stick out to me. The texture bothers me. But in the process of using this, it didn't really bother me in any kind of regard. I kind of enjoy the look of it, how it matches the other aesthetic design of the camera. This looks like it could have come out yesterday or last year for that matter. And in fact, I believe the Olympus Pen Digital pretty much looks exactly like this, except it has a sensor in it as opposed to a film mechanism. The elephant in the room, which is the shutter, it is known to become a problem for a variety of different reasons. Fortunately, I have a few of these bodies on hand, and at some point in the near future I hope to figure out how to fix them. I've watched a bunch of videos on them, I've talked to people about it. I just haven't had the wherewithal or the mental capacity in which to actually fix them, but it is a very elegant system that I would like to try to master at some capacity. We'll get there, make a video about that when I get it figured out, whenever that is. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this review. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the Olympus Pen FT. Have you shot with it? What are your thoughts? The only thing I would really change again is swapping out this kind of bland F for that fun gothic F on the Olympus Pen F. Other than that, I have no complaints, no thoughts. I think we should just get rid of backlights for screens. Let me know if you think that's a little bit too radical. I think it's a great idea though. And that would be my running platform if I was running for like president of the world or something, which is a role I would surely be voted out of immediately. Thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it. As always, like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you on the next one.